Activision Blizzard has laid down $46 million to purchase Major League Gaming, one of the biggest esports organizations out there. Let's talk about it in the comments below, but first, my opinion. I'm Tarmack, and this is Feature Creep. MLG has been around for over a decade, running video game tournaments and competitions from a wide range of titles and even going as far as to get major network broadcast time. Like them or not, Major League Gaming has been a huge force in the grand movement that is esports. I'd like to talk today about ethics. Not ethics in games media, the whole Gamergate mess and whatnot, but rather business ethics. A number of game publishers and developers support esports in their own way. There's a pretty wide battery of methods that has been suspect in my eyes for quite some time now. Blizzard frequently runs tournaments through their own events like BlizzCon. Nintendo does the same for Smash Bros., Capcom for Street Fighter, and so on. Each of these has a certain expectation of involvement from the developers because it's their job in many respects to bring a game into the fold, so to speak, by providing that level of support. And the creation of the esports events by the title owner companies is totally fine. But the issue, and one that we've seen a number of times to date, is when they hide behind copyright to stifle competition. Esports have one enormous roadblock to overcome that traditional sports do not. Nobody owns a copyright for the game of football, nor hockey, rugby, baseball, and so many others. These games in and of themselves are merely rule sets upon which anyone can put together a team, host a game or tournament, and move on with their lives. Sure, they need the appropriate business licenses to sell tickets, liquor, gambling, and all of that kind of wonderful stuff, but they don't have to ask a particular company for permission to merely use a game. In video games, that is not the case. Over the past few years, numerous tournaments have found themselves in unsponsored territory, meaning that the title owner has refused to allow them to use the game in the tournament. Sometimes this comes with a lawsuit for copyright infringement, and in other times, just a cease and desist letter. In each case, however, gamers end up being punished because of some false sense of security that copyright lawyers need in protecting game assets, or perhaps simply letting the lawyers loose in order to, again, specifically stifle competing tournaments or products, like Project M, for example, a mire of copyright amusement. Tournaments are all about viewer numbers after all. So, this brings us around to the MLG situation. Activision Blizzard has purchased MLG for a tidy $46 million, and in that simple stroke has wiped out a significant portion of the independent esports scene. MLG has already been dealing with their own corporate trust issues with the whole Doritos and Mountain Dew fiasco, and was trying to build the trust back from gamers. The Activision Blizzard connection, however, is somewhat problematic from a trust perspective. If they continue to support non-Activision Blizzard titles, they must of course do so with the blessing of the respective video game title owners, but even in that scenario, it will be difficult to extend any trust in their direction. What kind of meaningful promotion that a tournament would normally get will be provided when there may be a competing Activision product tournament in a similar time window? Not much. To do it any other way would simply be bad business. Maybe I'm over the moon, but I don't feel that big game devs and publishers should be locking down esports through acquisition. I understand the desire to support the scene, but much like my views on console exclusives, I believe that it should be done by new investment, not snapping up something that already exists. We need that significant level of variety and ownership in the esports scene to specifically keep any one entity from controlling it. Take a look at FIFA as a comparable example to see what happens when you let one organization control everything. That level of corruption can happen in esports, make no mistake, if we don't have proper business-level competition. And now that Activision Blizzard has their very own big-label esports league, will we continue to see their games at other tournaments, such as the very recent partnership for the Call of Duty World League with ESL? This is where the ethics debate comes to play. It's an overt, damaging move against proper competition in the esports scene. There aren't that many reasonably sized esports organizations, and the idea of game publishers and/or devs owning them, prioritizing some tournaments over others within an arm's length relationship is a problem. And it's for the same reason that the moment microtransactions are introduced into a game, the player can no longer trust that the developer didn't balance the game around intentional frustration to encourage purchases. I'm late to the esports party, but I've loved what I've seen up until this point, and I want to see much, much more. Hell, I think hosting local tournaments would be a lot of fun too. But in the same vein of game companies going after YouTubers, this restrictive nonsense has got to stop. Do you follow esports at all? If so, which ones? Have you watched through any major controversies? Let's chat about it. Feature Creep is a regular show back after my Christmas break, and we'll be weekly again going forward. Hit that subscribe button so that YouTube harasses you when the next one goes up. That's all I have to say. Tarmack out.